And we're back with UFC Card Collab 43. We have a ton of fun topics today. We're talking fake downtowns, 26 Chrome UFC leaks, title fight talk, rookie radar, agree or disagree. And I have with me the brawler, the alligator hunter, the man on a mission to go from normie average Joe to skilled badass fighter. Everybody make some noise for Damian.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate the kind words as per usual. These ones are a little bit different than last time, but yeah, you always put me in the show the right way, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Tell the people about some of the new projects and the new stuff you got going on.
So yeah, I decided 2026 is going to be the year that I finally get my butt into gear and have a crack at competing boxing for the first time. So I was actually meant to be doing this last year. I spoke to this about Zach maybe a year, 18 months ago. I had the knee injury early on last year, so that sort of put this on the sideline. But yeah, this year is the year that I finally decided that I wanted to go from a newbie boxer to a competitive boxer. So, and what better to do than also, I guess, document the journey, not only for myself, but also for other people out there, because I'm no young spring chicken anymore. I'm 37. So I think that people who are in a similar age, similar spot in life, who maybe have dreams, it doesn't have to be boxing, but maybe have their own dreams that they've been putting off throughout their 20s and 30s, they also can maybe relate and hopefully, best case scenario, maybe even get a little bit of inspiration. So that's why I started documenting the journey on YouTube as well.
If you guys have ever wanted to see Damian get punched in the face or punched in the head, you
There's
can see it.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there.
Yeah, so you can go check out his new channel. It'll be linked in the description. It's a good watch. A lot of vlogs. Honestly, I like the sparring footage is the most entertaining for me, and watching and kind of getting to hear your mindset whenever you're in the ring. Kind of taking an interesting perspective. So yeah, everybody out there, if you're watching, go check out Damian's new channel and go support him with that. Damian, we got a ton of new topics, man, and let's start first with what's news. Damian, there's fake downtowns out there. They are on the prowl. They are lurking, and they are everywhere, man. They are everywhere. I am so happy that I saw this post. First off, let's give a shout out to the man who really made this possible and put this on me and probably everybody's radar. This is Pinner Collects is the Instagram. Sadly, he was struck with a fake downtown, as this post says. He bought a 23 Donruss downtown on Whatnot, $600. Found out it was a fake. He is in contact with Panini, trying to figure out the exact specifics on what make these cards authentic and what makes the card that he bought a fake. And so listen up, everybody. This is the exact way you can tell if a card is fake or not. And also, we're going to look at some examples that are live on YouTube that have bids on them right now that are going to sell Damian, that based on this, they are fakes. And there's a ton of them, which we'll see in a second. Okay, on the left, we have DP, real card, beautiful card. On the right, we have DP, still a very good looking card, but this is a fake. And here is the way that you can tell. One, on the actual Donruss logo, there is the missing white border on the Donruss portion of this logo. Now, this is kind of a tough image to tell exactly what the fake looks like, but to me, it looks almost like a chrome or like a refraction. So that is one way to look. And for me, the easiest way to tell whenever looking at this was the refraction over the entire image. So if you can see this one, the refraction is just that outer edge, right, Damian? The inside pick is all just color, no refraction. But on this, the entire card over the fighter, over the image are all refraction. So to me, whenever we're looking through these eBay listings, kind of test your might, test your knowledge, and see if you can kind of see whenever we're looking if you can spot the fakes or the real ones. And to me, that is the easiest way to spot them. Also, no fighter. The outline is not perfect on this. The outline is perfect on this. See how there's almost like a ghosting there on the left? I know it's kind of small on your screen, Damian, but there's like a little ghosting right there on the left of DP's face. Okay, that is how you know whether they are fake or not. And Damian, they are everywhere, man. They are everywhere, and I was shocked to see this many fakes out there. We had our conversation. What was it? Two weeks ago, a month ago? We were talking about how downtowns, are a cool, fun play. Does this change? Does this change that in your mind?
Well, this is, I think, the best, talking point after this, because we both agreed that downtowns were a very good play long term. Now we're finding out a lot of them are fake. So does that spoil that? As you even mentioned in your recent video when you touched on this with just prospecting, but you mentioned about how some of these could have even passed PSA grading. We don't know because PSA, to be fair to them, UFC cards, we've heard about the grading process. I guess they're not that in tune with UFC cards. They're getting all these other sports. They're getting inundated with all these other TCG. So when a UFC card comes along, how educated are these graders when it comes to actually authenticating whether a card is legit or not? Especially when they look, that, as
Yeah.
you said, they're very finite, the differences. I guess you have to have a good, clean eye. You have to know what you're looking for. Do these PSA graders have an idea what they're looking for with downtown? So that makes you worry about, are some of these already graded? Um, Longer term, I think this hurt. I think shorter term, this hurts until we can find a way we can authenticate for real downtowns. I think if you in 10 years' time have a real downtown that's been authenticated through some other process that maybe doesn't exist right now, then I think that's going to be worth money. But I mean, I think this hurts it a lot. Like I personally, even you've sort of said you've got to stay away from downtowns at the moment because even as I said, if you're picking them up in a graded slab from one of these third party companies, it's still not even really a guarantee to a lot of people that it's legit. So I think definitely shorter term, I think over the next few years it hurts downtowns. But maybe if you do have one of those authentic ones and it is proven to be authentic in the longer term, then that makes that card even more rare, even more special. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I didn't think about that necessarily in that all of the fakes, if you since there's so many fakes and there's so much kind of cloudy drama going on right now, the ones that are 100% real definitely are, maybe will even rise even more to the top. With that being said, I've hit some people have hit me up and said that they do grade fake downtowns, and I actually found one that we're going to look at in a second, Damien. So now it's like you really have to be careful
Yeah,
if you're searching for these, and you have to be careful because I almost got Damien. Whenever we were talking about it, I was like, man, maybe I should get one of these. This is a kind of an interesting card, long term play. And so I was looking at this Islam. I was like, I don't have a lot of Islam. He's a guy I love to watch. It ended up selling, but look at the refraction. The refraction is over Islam. That was a fake. I almost bought this card. I think I put a bid in, but I put a bid in way lower than 600, and I don't think they accepted. But that is crazy. Also, at the Austin Card Show, if y'all haven't seen that video, you can go back in the archives and watch that. I set up a table. There was a bunch of guys, UFC card collectors that we met. We were chopping it up. We were talking, and a collector, Chris, actually bought two downtowns, or he didn't buy it, but it was a trade. He had this, and the trade was this Pereira and this Jones, and he gave some Jordans and some Kobe's, some vintage cards. And this is a big dollar trade, right? Like a big money trade. This card is probably 800 to 1,000. This is like 800 to 1,000. You're talking like close to $2,000 in trade value. I immediately, when I heard of this, I hit up Chris, and I was like, Chris, are your downtowns real? Like I gave him the graphic that Pinner made, and I was like, you really need to check. Like, this is pretty sketchy. I hope your downtowns are real. Comes back, you can look at the ghosting on the outline of the image. Same thing with John. The refraction is over the entire image on both. The Don Russ, white border.
Yeah.
Fake, man, fake. So like, woo-wee, long term, I think this hurts. I think this hurts really big. And now, two things could happen in the long term. Maybe right now, the turmoil and the drama, everybody's talking about downtown, so maybe all press good press. I don't know. More people might be aware of downtowns now than they were of before. Maybe that's a positive from this. But long term, I do think this is a negative, and especially because they are grading these. So I think that really clouds the waters and muddies the waters. Damien, let's look at all these that are on eBay right now, and you tell me if they're fake or real. People at home, fake or real? This one right here, this Valentina. What do you think? We got the.
Gonna be fake.
You think it's? I think it's fake too, man. Like, we got some ghosting on the left side. We got
ghosting.
We got the
dullness on the optic logo.
Yeah, and then the
refraction seems to be all over it.
Yeah, man. Okay, so that's one. And you can really go down like that. Refraction across, refraction across, refraction across. That one, it looks fine. Refraction across. This one is legit, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's 2022, so maybe there's a difference there in some of those. Again, refraction across the chest, refraction across, that's probably fake. Refraction right there, is that fake? These are all up for sale right now. This one, it was graded, but look at the refraction, not across Yair, not across the background.
Yeah, and the logo looks better. Like the optic, you can definitely
Yeah.
tell. I think the optic logo is definitely
Is that where you're
yeah,
noticing the most?
yeah. Because you said it's almost like a chrome. You can see the white, and then it's just so
Yeah.
black and dull on these fake
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, and then look, refraction all across John, the ghost, the kind of the ghost line on the outside. But this one, Damian, is graded. It's a graded downtown. Is that a fake? Personally, it looks like it could. It looks like it could be, and it's graded. So man, like
Yeah.
this is a big deal. And granted, we're going off of Pinner's post. You know, is that 100% true? Is he 100% dialed in? I think it seemed like he's coming at it with from an altruistic point of view because he got burned. But yeah, man, like I don't want to say definitively any of the ones we just looked at are fake or not, because that's, somebody's trying to sell that, and it also hurts the people that bought and are trying to sell these, right? Like I'm sure a ton of people bought these just like I almost did, and then are trying to sell, not even knowing that they were fake. So like a lot of people did
Yeah.
wrong, and this is an insane scandal, if you will, in the UFC card space, man.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to tell because, as you're saying, I don't even think the people who are selling them now, like, they're most likely not even the originators of the card. Like,
Oh
I'd say
yeah.
whoever had these cards originally and had them printed and faked, they're probably long gone by now. But I guess this is a talking point that we don't have time for this week, but maybe we could talk about it next collab. Is
Yeah.
where does this stop? Is this stopping with just downtowns? Obviously, you talked about some round two red inks that have maybe been faked for a little bit longer than just these ones. But does this bleed into kabooms? What else? Where does the line stop with this? I mean, that could be a fun investigating and talking point for next time around.
Yeah, Lewis, aka MMA Cardboard, I had him on the show a long time ago, and he had mentioned that he thinks that there are some, and again, this is all kind of speculation, right? He thinks that there are some fake round one red inks out there, because the round two red ink was numbered to 25. The round one red ink was not. They didn't have a numbering system on the back, so in theory, you could just swap stickers and kind of go from there on whether whether it's a blue or a red ink. But yeah, man, I'm really scared about kabooms as well. I mean, is it just specifically this card? Is it a one-off?
I doubt it.
You'd have to suspect maybe not, right? So this is pretty scary, and especially coming from a guy that loves case hits and loves short prints like this, man. And if a card is numbered, this really, I mean, it still could happen, but it would be much more difficult to do that, and be much easier to spot the fakes if it did. So yeah, dude, just really an insane shockwave and an insane scandal right now. And I do know there has to be so many more people that were affected. Jude over in Collectagon got as well. So like there's going to be I bet you there's going to be a lot of people out there that come forward and are like, "Oh man, I bought this 6 months ago, a year ago. Who knows when they were manufactured, right?" And then are looking at their card like, "Oh wow, this is a fake." Absolutely insane.
What would be your advice to those people, Zach? Like, obviously, some of these people, they may be newer. They maybe only came in a year or two. They've come into UFC cards. They like the downtowns because, they're familiar with other brands. They've been stuck now. Maybe they've realized, hey, this is fitting all the boxes of a fake downtown. What would be your piece of advice to them?
That's a really good question, man. And it's a hard one to answer because if you try and sell it, you have to disclose that you think it's fake. One, I think I would start there, right? Like, don't perpetuate this cycle of negativity. You got, and that's terrible alone. Don't try and scam somebody else to try and get your money back, right? In the listing, you have to write something, or you just hold the card. It's still a cool card, man. It still looks great. It would technically be like a custom, right? It's basically a custom card, and maybe you just hold it and you keep it in your PC, and people probably aren't going to tell the difference unless you're super into this anyway. But Yeah, I feel like you would have to disclose if you are going to sell, or you're just going to keep it and, kind of, it's technically not a loss, Damian, unless you try and sell, right? So if you keep it, you didn't lose. What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like for a lot of collectors, and I would understand the sentiment, it probably is the one that burns in their collection.
Yeah.
So, as you said, you can't just then sell it on and not disclose. You could, if you are going to try and sell it for whatever reason, do the right thing. Do the good karma thing, because karma does come back to you. And yeah, disclose it. And then obviously, if you do sell it, then your hands are clean. But yeah, and maybe just have to chalk it up to a lesson, in terms of this is not only be careful putting your money in, but also, do your due diligence, especially when people are spending this sort of money on like $1,000 on cards. It's a lot of money. I've never personally spent a card. I've never spent that much on a card. But yeah, if you are looking at dropping big dollars, anything over a couple $100, then you really need to be sure about what you're putting your money towards, because unfortunately, where there's money to be made, there's criminals. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But what sucks is like this is getting past the eBay authenticity guarantee, right? Like they have that. I forget if it's $250 or $300. I think it's $300. It goes to eBay's authentication, and then eBay looks at the card and they determine if it's damaged, if it's real, blah blah blah.
You
And
should be protected by that then, you would think. If you had bought yours on eBay through that process, and then you now have somewhat evidence that it's fake, I would be contacting eBay.
And that I think that's where we're at in this story and in this saga right now is people. One, we just found out that there's a ton of fake downtowns out there, right? I think now we're at the stage where people are finding out and then trying to determine what do you do next, whether you bought it, through PayPal, goods and services, blah, 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 through eBay. If you know the person that you bought it from, you're going to contact them. And then how does that work out? Like, I think that's where kind of the story is going to get weird, is how is eBay handling this? Because as we just looked at, there's 50 fakes. I'm spitballing a number, but I was scrolling for a while just being like that matches, and a lot of them had bids on. So man, it's going to be an interesting process. Hopefully some people can see this before maybe those bids end and they can just cancel and let the buyer know, like, hey, I think this is fake, or I don't know, man. It's a terrible situation to be in. I, for one, am happy that I didn't pull the trigger on that, because that would be so disheartening, to spend that much money and be excited about, a potential card that you're going to keep for a long time. Those are big cards. People love those cards. And then not only to know that your money was wasted, but then to know that you don't have a downtown in your collection. That's like a double stab in the heart.
Yep.
All right, Damian, we have more news today. I want to let you know that we have leaks, man. We have leaks on 2026 Topps Chrome, and I think they look good, dude. What do you think? This is a sneak peek preview of some cards, and this might even be a Sapphire edition.
I was going to say that has to be Sapphire, right?
Yeah. Yep. So it's a double leak, man. Not only are we getting Sapphire edition, we've got the Topps Chrome design here. What do you think about the design overall?
Looks super clean already. Obviously, simple bordering, fighter front and center. So yeah, they look good.
We got a couple more that we'll look at. Shout out to Cody Steele, local guy, Austin guy. He trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in North Austin, did combat Jiu-Jitsu for a while, transitioned over to MMA. I've seen him before at 10th Planet Austin. Never had the privilege to get beat up by him or spar with him and get manhandled, but he's got his first Chrome Auto, and I'm hoping I can get some Cody Steele. But yeah, here's a little horizontal design. Same thing here. You got some little cool edges there. Real plain and simple, but that is what I think that's personally what people like about Chrome, what people like about Prism, is that it's kind of just, you got some angular line work, and then you got the image, and that's it.
Yeah, definitely. And then how cool is that? Obviously, he's got that inscription on that auto, and it's to 150. It's not, we're not talking about a 101. Obviously, that'd be a fun chase card that's quite attainable for a lot of people.
Yeah, I love we've seen this a few times, I feel like, and I love it because, like you're saying, it's literally the first ever card Chrome that they've ever signed, right? It's the first one in the stack of 150. Very interesting. And we got a couple more here. We got this one, which I wanted to pick your brain on this. We have what looks like the Roman Colosseum, which I've actually been there, Damian. I went there. I'm a well-traveled American, all right? I'm not the stereotype that everybody thinks. I went to Rome and was in the Colosseum. Absolutely sick. What do you think about this one?
I like it. It's very knockout 2024, but it's once again it's a design that they haven't hit on too much, and they haven't, squeezed all the juice that could be had to do with UFC fighters in the Colosseum. So I think bring it on. Looks good.
Yeah, I'm curious. This has to be some type of insert, right? That's probably what we're thinking.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, yeah, I was thinking about the red sky, but obviously this is the red parallel to 5, so that makes a little bit more sense there. But yeah, this has to be an insert for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It does look like that's probably where the parallel differentiation is going to be. Can't tell if there's any coloring here or if that's just like a brick or bronze, whatever it is the gate is made out of. And lastly, this is not confirmed, but I think we are getting the debut patches in Chrome to start 2026. Just to go off of the other iterations, the other sports, they have released the debut patches in Topps Chrome. So are we getting these debut patches in Topps Chrome, man? That would be my guess, but I don't know. And what do you think about the design?
I like the design. The debut patch actually looks really good. I will give it to them. Obviously, the font that they've gone there, the debut sticks out. It makes sense. They've had it horizontal. It's quite a big patch. You've got to fit the fighter on there and then the auto. But yeah, these look really good. These will be probably the biggest chase card you would think all year for the big debutants who have had their debuts in 2025. But I think Chrome is a product they should be putting this in. But I was even thinking maybe they end up in royalty for 2026. Who knows? Because, UFC, at least Topps, they're going to want one super premier product. And if you had a pretty good odds, say we're in royalty, if they're putting those in there, like they can make a lot of money firsthand from those boxes, as opposed to resale value on secondary platforms. So we'll see. But I think, as you said, the other sports have done it with Chrome, so the average collector can hope that they end up in Chrome.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of what royalty is, when you think of the amount of patches that are associated with royalty, I would agree with you. Now, this design, just the look of it, I think this does not look like a royalty design. And that would be kind of the only thing that I would say. I don't necessarily think that it would be in royalty. But as far as like price goes, as far as, them trying to put in amazing hits, I definitely agree. It's going to be exciting, man. The first time we're ever seeing these debut patches, I think they're going to really bring a shot and an injection of adrenaline into the UFC space. I think people are going to be excited for them, or maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm just the guy who's really excited for them, and everyone's not going to care. We'll see.
No, I definitely agree. I think these are, the best thing that Topps have come out with in the past, few years for sure, hands down. And I actually had a strange thought the other day that maybe they would do a standalone product. I mean, if you were getting a box with one rookie patch auto in it, you don't know obviously which fighter it is. But I feel like they could sell that product at a pretty high premium.
I hope they don't do that, because it would be insane. That would be cool though. All right, Damian, we still have more to talk about on what's news. I feel like it's been a while since we met, and the news cycle is hot right now. There's just a lot of interesting storylines, and this was one that we talked about this in our dream matchup. We were like, Pereira moves up. Then we get we were talking about Ulberg with them. We're like, will we get Ulberg in some cool matchups? We have Poatan moving up. He vacates the light heavyweight title. To me, that's a foregone conclusion that he is 100% going to be fighting at heavyweight, right? Is that kind of where your head's at with this?
100%. There's no other reason he would vacate his current title, give up the title, pay-per-view money, or they're not on the pay-per-view system anymore now, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, you would think there's no other reason other than a heavyweight fight. I guess the ball falls into which opponent out of two potential other fighters at the moment.
Look at that, dude. Look at that. At the White House, Damian, we get John Jones. We get Poatan. we get one of the greatest of all time in John Jones versus a guy first ever triple weight class. To me, that's a very easy fight to sell. Maybe it's because I like both of these guys, but I feel like that is one of the biggest fights we've had in a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely you definitely put that in the super fight category for sure for UFC. I mean, regardless how you think about John Jones and what's going on there with that situation, obviously if John Jones puts his hand up and the UFC want to, put his name to a card and hopefully there's no issues in between now and then.
Which who knows, right?
That's the fight to make. But yeah,
Yeah.
obviously the only other fight that makes sense, and I guess who would be the backup fighter would be a Cyril Gane. It
Yep.
seems like Tom Aspinall's gone AWOL, obviously having eye surgery, talking about boxing, which is a sad story on its own. But yeah, I think it's either Alex Pereira fights John Jones for heavyweight, or he fights Cyril Gane for some sort of interim or maybe vacated belt by that point.
Yep, I completely agree. I feel like I saw a blurb about that too, and I think we're still very early in this storyline, so I don't think anything is definitely set in stone or concrete. But that is exactly what I was reading, was that John versus Poatan is the marquee A matchup. The replacement would be Cyril Gane versus Alex Pereira for the vacated heavyweight title. Tom, man, that such a sad thing with him. He's had such an interesting career in the last few years with the John Jones thing, with the knee injury, and now with this. And I believe he was diagnosed with some extremely rare eye condition, which it almost seemed like it was a congenital issue, which is something that you're born with. How he ended up with that, I guess it could be some trauma from the eye poke. I don't know, but I am very sad that he is not in the picture because he's such a skilled guy, and I wanted to see what he could do against some of these best guys in the division at heavyweight.
Yeah, we talked about it for a long time. We saw Tom Aspinall, obviously with John Jones removed out of the picture, we saw Tom Aspinall, having his way with that division for quite some time. Maybe going on a run that we haven't seen at heavyweight. Heavyweights normally they'll get a couple of wins and then there'll be a new guy come in. I think Tom Aspinall was young enough, he was skilled enough that, he could have stayed at the top for a long time, which would have been exciting for him in his career. He's as you mentioned, feel really bad for him. Very skilled fighter. Seems like a good guy too. Yeah, you never know. Obviously, he's had this eye injury now. Who knows? You could only speculate too that he got put offside with the UFC. He got stuffed around with that John Jones thing for a long time. Maybe that put him in a bad place for the UFC in terms of how he felt about the organization as well, and maybe that pushed him more towards wanting to go and do something else with his career. But yeah, it's just a overall sad story, and hopefully he can get back on track, whether that be boxing or UFC or whatever he's doing, and he can get those eyes healed up, because yeah, that would be an even bigger shame to miss out on Tom Aspinall competing.
What a shame, man. But Poatan moving up, we get a vacated light heavyweight title, and my man Jiri Prochazka is back in the title spot, and he hasn't lost to anyone in the UFC that's name is not Alex Pereira. So I am excited to see him and the Black Jag Carlos Ulberg go after it. This card is stacked, Damian. We've got Joshua Van and Tyra, two up-and-coming studs. We've also got very interesting prospect Josh Hokett against Curtis Blades, unranked heavyweight, fighting Curtis Blades. I can't remember a crazy leapfrog into the rankings. I believe Curtis Blades is ranked like 4th or 5th. So for a guy to be unranked to then fight 4th or 5th is crazy. Two really good wrestlers. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Really nice card. But man, we get Jiri Prochazka back in a title fight, and I could not be happier that we get this in 2026.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. That's gonna be a fun fight. Ladies' night, the Black Jag. Carlos Ulberg. I actually think that'll be a fun win for him. I'm gonna be in his corner for that fight. I think that'll be a fun one. But yeah, shake up in the light heavyweight division. I'm not sure what happens after that fight though. I mean, who do you put in title contention after those two guys?
Man, yeah.
It's not too stacked at the moment, but yeah, that card's looking good for sure.
Yeah, and we have, just matchup wise, I mean, you have a guy that doesn't know how to not be in exciting fights in Jiri Prochazka, and you have a guy that is very technical and hits like a truck. That's not a good combination if you're Jiri, because he does get hit a lot, right? But can he enter the matrix and just melt Carlos Ulberg? Can he melt him? We know that he's very technical. We know that he is very measured. In theory, if you really put him under the fire and you light that fire under him and you start boiling him and he's in the heat.
First 5 rounds as well, yeah.
Could we see something crazy happen? I think it's very possible. Exciting matchup and really good matchup at light heavyweight. But like you say, with Poatan gone, I mean, we've got Ankalaev, we've got some other guys, but not really any like star-studded guys. I feel like right now anyway, Ulberg and Jiri are probably the two most popular guys, with Poatan leaving and going up. So kind of an interesting time and definitely a flux period at light heavyweight.
I heard, I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but I heard a month or two back that the long-term Glory heavyweight kickboxing champion Rico Van Hooven was signed by the UFC recently too. So I would expect to see him probably in the light heavyweight division coming up soon. But yeah, another very well-known, very skilled, very accomplished kickboxer coming into the UFC. So that'll be interesting as well.
Yeah, great call out there, and definitely something that'll be interesting. He's kind of a guy that he's been a training partners for people for a very long time in the UFC world. A lot of the bigger light heavyweight and heavyweights will use him as a training partner whenever they're preparing for somebody that's a very good kickboxer in those divisions. So it's not like he hasn't been around this. I'm sure he's been picking their brain and kind of getting, you know, MMA knowledge and practicing MMA probably for a while now. So that's a very interesting name. And he's one that if he came over, they would instantly vault him very high in the rankings.
They'll push him really. Yes. They'll push him as quick as they can to get to Pereira fight or someone like that.
Yeah, so we could see him come in, fight, you know, middle of the rankings, lower in the rankings, and if he looks good, I would not be surprised if he was, you know, ranked very highly. But yeah, man, Damian, a ton of what's news today, but we have some interesting rookies to talk about and some guys that fought on the card that we did not cover because it was, you know, back to back. So let's go over to Rookie Radar. Yeah. Mauricio Rufy absolutely dismantles Rafael Fiziev. He looked incredible in that fight, and I really thought Fiziev was going to come at him with a well-rounded attack and really put it on Mauricio Santos Rufy. What did you think of that performance, man, and kind of just landscape? It's crazy how quickly things shift. He gets absolutely dominated by BSD. Then he goes out there and he puts on a great performance and KOs a really good striker. And I feel like he literally is right back where he was before he lost to BSD.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I've always liked Fiziev. I always thought he was a really fun fighter, great striker, fun to watch. Obviously, really tough guy as well. Been in there with Gaethje twice now. But that's actually a good little point on your prospecting as well. I actually looked at prospecting on Fiziev maybe, 18 months ago, sort of around when he did his knee injury.
Okay.
But since then, he's been on a bit of a skid. Fun fighter still, and obviously, fighting some of the best at the lightweight division. But Hoofy looked good. Mauricio Hoofy looked good. No denying, as you said, came back well from that BSD loss, which is the BSD. We're going to talk about him in a second, on a 4-fight win streak, looking unbeatable at the moment. But good for Hoofy to get back in the win com. I think his cards may get a little bit more interest again, where they would have fallen off a little bit after that loss, just how that fight went down. But I think there's still some fun fights for even both of these guys. I think Fiziev is going to get a chance to sort of keep pushing on. But yeah, Hoofy looked good, man. He looked very good.
Yep, and we got, whenever we talk about these guys, we got to look at their pricing real quick, and then me and Damian kind of chose what our favorite card that they have is, and we'll talk about it and show you guys. But I was very surprised on some of this pricing, man. Now, granted, there hasn't been like any really big 101 nukes sold yet, but we have this royalty. I think this is a slick card too. To me, this gold and all the shininess of it with the marbling in the back, I think that looks pretty good. But we're talking 737. I was expecting to see him have a few cards that were up around or over $1,000. So kind of interesting to note that for whatever reason, and MR, come on, MR, that's all you can give us on the auto, dude. That's kind of weak on that.
Yeah, that is weak.
And then we got some different cards. This is actually interesting. Fighting Nerds Triple. This is a custom card. One of his biggest sales that he has at 300. Both me and Damian, we both chose this card. That's hilarious. And this is a really nice card. Event used Matt Relic. This was like knockout of the year, right? Wasn't it like a knockout of the year contender, or it won that?
Yeah, I think it did win it. but it definitely was in the contention. But yeah, his only specific relic he has, and that's why. And not only is this a sick image, it's obviously
Mhm.
Zach and I love the verticals, but you can't hate on this card being horizontal. And it is literally his only specific relic. So I think that makes this card even cooler.
And it could be his only event used matte relic for a long time. We do not see those a lot, Damien. You know that. If you guys have followed the channel a lot, we've talked about it multiple times. You know that as well. They don't do that very often. So this is definitely a special card. And like Damien's saying, I mean, absolutely. And we saw King Green come out and absolutely starch Zell Huber. So this win for Rufy actually aged really well. But yeah, crazy, crazy spinning heel kick right on King Green. He folds like a chair. Really nice card there for Mauricio Santos. And Damien brought it up. We had BSD come and fight and absolutely kill your boy. Is he from New Zealand or Australia? It's New Zealand, right? Dan Hooker?
New Zealand, Dan Hooker, yeah.
Really put it on him, and there for a second Dan Hooker had a little success, and he's always a psycho crazy man, so I was like, is he gonna pull off the upset? But then BSD puts him down. The ref in that fight, I was yelling at the TV. BSD landed like 30 unanswered shots. It was crazy, man. Now Dan was able to block and absorb or get out of the way of some of them, but he was landing some bombs on Dan Hooker, and I was like, stop the fight, this is over. But yeah, we have Benoit Saint Denis. He's back at it again, dude. And we had one of those where, just kind of like Rufy, he loses to DP. He's kind of, everybody's down on him, and now he's back up at the top of the world. What are your thoughts on Rufy just as a prospect and as on his cards as a whole?
Oh, BSD.
Yeah, sorry.
We all know I'm not a fan of BSD. He snubbed me at UFC. Wouldn't give me the time of day for an autograph. But yeah, his cards as a whole, I think he's just one of those middle-aged guys. I don't think even if he was pushing towards a title, he's got that buzz about him. I'm sure he does in France. I'm sure if you're there actually were, I did notice at that event, which was 2 years ago now, that there was a lot of people, or not a lot of people, a good amount of people that seemed to have travelled to watch him fight. So he does have obviously a strong fan base back in France, but cards wise, it's not one that I would see or would want to see be putting money into in terms of, having them move or having them increase in value.
Okay, but crystal ball, best case scenario, I could see where BSD is like Justin Gaethje light. He's like a Dustin Poirier light, where he goes out there, he's a BMF guy, man. Like, now, is he going to continue to win long enough to really, put himself up there with those guys? I don't necessarily think so, but like best case scenario, he is going to put on very exciting fights, and I could see him kind of being a fan favorite. Now, will he ever get to the top? Will he be remembered long term? Probably not, but I do enjoy watching him fight, and I do think he's going to put on some really good, entertaining performances here in the future.
Yeah, well, his last 4 wins, 4 finishes. So, yeah, he, as you said, he goes in there. He's a savage. He fights, and he gets the job done. So that's what fans want to see in the UFC. So he's doing that at the moment. There are some fun fights for like lightweight. There are always fun fights for any lightweight fighter. That division is so full of very, very skilled guys, and guys who are just absolute, as we talked about, and Dan Hooker's one of them, just guys who just do not care and just want to fight. So, I think BSD, who he fights next, do we see him against someone like Arman? I don't know. Does Arman actually get a title shot for a change? Does Arman fight this wrestling guy? I don't know what's going on with
Yeah, he's fighting over at the RAF.
But yeah, maybe he gets put in with a Chandler or something. That could be a fun fight for him to absolutely smash Chandler. Yeah, there's definitely some fun fights for BSD coming up for sure.
And I would be remiss to not mention this, Damien. The fight with Dustin Poirier, I went back. We have Paramount Plus, shameless Paramount. They need to sponsor your boy. I keep gassing them up so much. But I went back and I watched the Dustin Poirier and Benoit Saint Denis fight. Benoit Saint Denis fought really well in that, man. Honestly, it felt like he was getting the better of DP until Dustin landed a beautiful shot, and stuck him. But like, for whatever reason, I forgot how close that fight was, and rewatching that, I was like, in an alternate universe, he wins that fight, and who knows where he's at if he does win that fight. But a very interesting guy. Let's talk about some cards. This was your pick, and whenever you sent this, I was like, this had to have been the face that he hit you with whenever you asked for an autograph. He hit you with that face, right, when you asked for an
I
autograph?
believe his frown was a little bit bigger when I saw him. But yeah, I actually had never seen this card before researching Benoit Saint Denis cards, and something stuck out to me, like this power packed card. It's almost a little bit with that, beam team refraction geometric thing going on the back. Very, very small auto, but it's still a very cool card. I like this one actually. So I'm going to check this one out more, see what other fighters have this card.
Yeah, this was a funny one because Damien, whenever I did the sneak peek, on Stadium Club, they gave us one of these, and people hated this card so much, man. But I'm with you. I think they're fun. To me, it just reminds me of like being a kid. It reminds me of being a kid with the shitty lettering and the green, purple, and pink. It's just to me, it's kind of a fun card, and that's basically what Stadium Club is in a nutshell, with all of their different short prints and the beam team and whatnot. But yeah. I like this one, so I was glad that you picked it. And I thought you were gonna say that I honestly thought you were gonna hate on BSD in this part of this segment because he snubbed you and just rip on him for how his face is in that photo. Surprisingly, man, BSD actually has been in some really nice cards. When I was looking up, there was 3 or 4 different ones. I was like, these are actually really nice cards. He's been in some cool inserts. He has a lot of good vertical images. And this is one that I really like the image. It looks like he's throwing a nice body shot or something here, hands tucked in tight. The Intimidators is a really interesting design to me. Again, harkening back to like the older designs of 90s and whatnot in the different inserts. And it's a super, man. How can you not love the supers? So I think this, if I was a BSD guy, I think this would be one that I would probably be on my radar.
Yeah, for sure. I did see that one too. When I saw it in the red parallel, and with the blue tape, the red parallel, something irked me as
yeah,
as an autistic person. So.
Yeah, you're a color match always, dude. It's got to be color match.
Yeah.
All right, man. Really fun talking about those rookies. Now let's go ahead and we'll go to agree or disagree.
Agree or disagree?
That is the question.
And some of you may not know, but this is happening, and I figured it was kind of an interesting talking point. And this is what I'm talking about, everybody. So we actually have Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano fighting on Netflix, Damien. They're fighting on Netflix. This is actually going to be a pretty huge promotion, I would imagine. Now, granted, I believe they're fighting this weekend, and I feel like it's still not making a lot of buzz. So maybe it's not.
It's May.
Oh, is it May? Okay, then that would make more sense. Still not a ton of buzz around this, but I was very interested because I believe this is the first ever MMA match to happen on Netflix, and with Most Valuable Promotions, which is Jake Paul's promotion. It's kind of a circus matchup, but I wanted to pose the question for agree or disagree. Does this Ronda Rousey Gina Carano fight, does it do anything to help either of their card markets or further their legacy? Do you agree or disagree that this does something to help their card markets and their legacy?
I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to get straight to the point. No, I don't think this fight does anything for their card markets. Absolutely not. But what I want to do, spend 2 minutes talking about now that I have the floor here, is I think this is massive for Netflix. And I think doing this first MMA fight ever on Netflix, I think not that this fight I think draws the attention that maybe they want. I'm sure it will get probably a few million streams, but I think what this really does is open the door for Netflix to put on the super fights that the UFC never got done. And I think this is where MVP as a promotion, I'm not saying that they're going to overtake UFC, but I think this opens the door, this opens the opportunity, and it is Netflix in terms of viewership to really put on some really, really fun fights, offer some really big money to fighters who, maybe are on the back end of their career, still obviously skilled enough to put on performances. But I think what excites me about this is Netflix MVP getting in the MMA space. And I think moving forward, we are going to see some really, really big fights, some super fights. For even some of us older UFC fans, I think there's going to be some really, really fun fights. This is not one of them for my liking. I'm sure there's some Rousey fans who want to watch this, even some Gina fans. But what I'm excited about is what this door opens for MMA, for UFC fighters in terms of maybe they want to jump promotions. Maybe MVP start making a run with Netflix. Anything is possible. Once again, I'm not saying that MVP is going to ever take over the UFC in terms of premier MMA, but I think this is a really, really fun move for MMA fans. I think we're the winners of this with what Netflix can be doing moving forward.
Yes, 100% agree with your sentiment and your take on this, man. We're in agreement on this to the end, and it is kind of an interesting, and I was curious as to why maybe they chose these two. I do know that Jake Paul in particular likes to push women's sports. He was very big with I think it was Katie Taylor and Serrano, other two female boxers. He really wanted to push them. So maybe it's an altruistic perspective. Maybe it is the best value play as far as monetary goes and being a businessman. You can get two big names but not pay them as much as you would potentially have to do with the male names. I kind of thought that sentiment as well. But yeah, man, you're talking about really a new platform for super fights to happen. And what is most interesting about this and about most valuable promotions getting into this is it's one-off contracts. This is what boxing has always done, man. And I think that does two things. One, it frees up people to move around more. Whenever you go into the UFC, you're basically stuck with them for, I think, what's their normal 3 to 5 fights. Like it's going to be a couple years, and usually at least 3 to 5 fights. That could be potentially 5 years if you're only fighting once a year. Now, what this does is people could hop out and go do a big, MMA fight in this, get paid a bag. They could come back if they wanted. This actually gives a little bit of leverage to the best stars in the UFC. Hopefully what happens, best case scenario, Rousey and Gina get a bag. They get a huge amount of money. Hopefully other fighters see this, maybe explore that option, like you were saying, with retired fighters or with people where their contract has lapsed, and maybe that will incentivize and force the UFC to pay the fighters more in order to keep the talent with them in that organization.
Yeah, I mean, even if you want to throw some random names out there, you could think of a Jorge Masvidal and a Darren Till rematch. Both guys retired from the UFC, not involved. You could have Nate Diaz, Jorge rematch, MMA, Netflix, Nate Diaz, Darren. There are. I mean, I'm only just rotating three names, but I mean, this is just one example of what Netflix, and Netflix are coming with a bag because they have the platform. So what I'm basically getting at, Zach, is you can have the Paramount deal. I'll take the Netflix deal, and then we'll meet back here next collab round to see what the setups are looking like.
Yeah, I love that. Throw us some money over here. We're doing some work. We're doing some free promo for you guys. Really interesting, man. Yeah, I thought about like dream matchups as well. I was like ones that would never happen, but that would be interesting. We never saw GSP versus Habib. They're old and washed up. Do we see them now? I believe Rousey is 39 and Gina Carano is like 45. So just on, does this do anything for their legacy? Personally, no, not at all. If they were to step into female divisions right now in the UFC and try and compete, I think they would get absolutely washed by pretty much any of the upper echelon people. The game has just changed so much since they were in their prime, not to mention their actual age and how demanding this sport is on your body. It's such a grind whenever you're talking about training and trying to get better and pursue that in the sport. And it kind of made me think like, okay, so if we do see those names, right? If we see Nate Diaz versus Masvidal in an MMA match on MVP, does that do anything for their cards, or is it just fun for us, the fans?
That's a toughie. I think you would have to assess the hype at the time, but I would lean more towards no, but I think it's definitely possible. But I think I would lean more towards no. I think it's more just like, it's just fun for us fans. And I think that's what's more important.
Yeah, I do think if it did help any, it would be very small. I think as far as card values go, I think the amount of positive buzz that would be generated from if Nate Diaz went out there and just like slept Jorge Masvidal, I don't necessarily, it would be a lot of good buzz for him, but I don't necessarily think that would change his legacy within the UFC or make people want to go out and buy his cards or buy big cards of his from doing that within that promotion.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, man. We're coming back with a big pay-per-view event. We've got the BMF title on the line, and Damian might have some cards to sell. let's go ahead and talk about pay-per-view buys.
For
pay-per-view buys.
Damian, tell them what you got, dude.
I have too many Max Holloway rookie cards. And we can all see here, the problem I have as a collector, and I want to throw this out to the people, that's why all four are pictured here. I have two finest. I have the blue at 185. I have the gold to 188. The blue is actually 9.5, while the gold is slightly worse grade in the 9. But then I also have the knockout, which is his first print rookie. I have the gold, which is to 188 as well, funnily enough, in a 9. And I have the blue, which is a color match, but it's a 7.5. So I have the problem of I have the rarity, serial numbering in the slightly lower grades. I don't need 4 Max Holloway rookie cards. I'm trying to consolidate my collection for quite some time now, probably the last year and a half. And my plan is, if Max Holloway, this is a stipulation, if Max Holloway doesn't win, you will not see me on Whatnot on Sunday night. But if Max Holloway does win on Sunday night, I'll be on Whatnot, and I will be trying to potentially move 2 of these 4 cards. Which 2? I would like people to get in the comments to get your collector's thoughts, because I'm very torn. I love the color match of both the finest blues and the knockout blues, but they are higher printed, where the golds, the knockout is lower printed, sorry. But yeah, the finest blue is higher printed than the gold, slightly better grading. But yeah, what would you all do as a collector? Maybe my initial plan was to hold all 4 of these cards for longer term. I think Max Holloway's stock only increases over the years. And then, you could put these cards, you could put away for 5-10 years, and then hopefully they increase in value no matter the grade. But so that's why I don't have these cards up for sale just on the average weekend. But when he does fight, obviously if he does get a win, will we see a spike? Probably not. It is UFC cards, but I will be having a decent reserve on any of these cards, put it that way. I'm not auctioning these off at $1, letting them rip, no way.
I think that's smart.
Obviously, there's a value of these cards that I don't want to ever sell them for less than that. So we'll start with that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what other collectors' comments are in terms of what they would do, or what their suggestions are.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man, because both of these are beautiful cards. I've seen this version of Finest in person, and the shine is really nice. I actually had a gold was the card that I had in person, and it looked great. I'm a sucker for gold, but like you're saying, the blue trunks with the blue background really does pop, and it's a little bit better grade. Tough decisions, man. I don't envy you in this one, but I do like that you're doing this, and this is something that we've talked about for a long time. I feel like a lot of people, if you're not thinking like this, maybe you should go ahead and have this conversation with yourself. How many cards do you need in your collection? Do you need 700 different cards in your collection? How many cards are you having displayed? Could you take some of your lower value cards, sell those, and put that into a lower print run card, a nicer card, better grade, whatever you want to do? Personally, I've had a lot more joy in doing that and trying to collect that way within the last couple of years. Damian, you can chime in if you felt the same, but definitely a question that you should kind of ask yourself.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, there's been a lot of lower end cards that I just sold in bulk, as you said, just to get off them and move on to something else, because they sit on eBay forever. And yeah, definitely like you, I've originally been like, okay, I want 50 like true PC cards that I have displayed. But even then, more recently, I'm like, 50 is way too many to be displaying. You can't sort of display that many unless you've got a special area of your house. So then I maybe like track it down to 30, and then even 30 slab cards is a lot. So, I'm trying to get it back down to somewhere around 20. I think 20 is a good number. Whether that changes or not in the future, but yeah, definitely agree. You've got to have these. Well, I personally want to have these conversations with myself of, okay, move off some of the stuff that I appreciated at one point, but like perfect example, I don't need 4 rookie cards for Max. As much as I love Max Holloway, I've got a couple of other of his cards. I've got his instant impact from 2021 Prism in the gold that's graded. I've got a couple other cool cards for him. I don't need 16 Max Holloway rookie cards, for example, and especially don't need 4 rookies. So I think if I could get it down to 2 rookies, keep a good auto, and then maybe 2 other fun inserts, that's 5 cards for Max Holloway that I keep forever. And then, I've got a few other athletes who I do the same for. So if I can get the collection somewhere down to 20, move off these other ones, as you said, even if you want to refund that money and get into something even bigger for another fighter or the same fighter, they're all conversations that you should be asking yourself instead of these people who have hundreds and hundreds of cards. I mean, each to their own, but
Yeah.
that would drive me insane.
Yeah, I mean, there is different like styles of collecting, right? Like personally, I'm not like a hoarder collector. I feel like I kind of got that way at the beginning, and it just did not bring me a lot of joy to have half my cards, sitting in a box, just not ever being looked at. I was basically forgetting what I even had, like having hundreds of cards, you forget some of the cards that you even have. And I did not like how that made me feel. I just felt like it didn't fit with what I wanted for the cards that I was having in my collection. So you can collect however you want. What I want you to do is to think about what you want. I feel like that is the most important thing. What is going to bring you the most joy? What do you enjoy, having your collection be? And you really should think about that before you continue to just either, buying a ton of cards, and then later you could be like us where you realize I actually don't like collecting like this, and then having to kind of change your mindset. All right, so we talked about Damian's buys for this pay-per-view, and I have a Raul Rosas Jr. card. Man, this card's been up forever, man, and I feel like he's not necessarily fighting as often as he should be in order to really be getting his name out there. I even saw a blurb that he was potentially going to like talking about retiring early and like being a champ, and I'm like, bro, in order to do those, you have to fight. I can't remember the last time he had a fight was. And he's a guy that I've been watching and following because of how young he was when he came on the scene, the type of talent that he could possess long term, being that age and continuing to get better. But yeah, I'm like, well, I want to see you fight, and I feel like you're never fighting. But this is the 23 Prism True Rookie. It's the Pandora of 99. It's up for 40 right now. Realistically, I would probably take a little bit lower than that. But I never want to short myself whenever I'm listing, so I always list a little bit higher than I would actually accept. Probably shouldn't be saying that because now everybody's going to lowball me. But hey, if it's within the buy it now price, then that's going to happen.
Have you ever thought about grading this card at any point? You've had it for 2 years.
I actually did. So I had this up, Damien. I had this up listed for a while. I took it down thinking I was going to grade it. And then when I was looking at the stack of cards that I had to grade, I was like, why am I grading some of these? Like, let's say I do grade this. I spent $25 on grading this. Takes a couple months to get to me. This card's still probably a $50 card. Like, what if this gets a 10? What is it? It's probably less than $100. Is it even worth the time, the hassle, the effort of getting this graded? Right now, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that as well. Fair enough. I do the same thing myself. You go through a stack of cards, you're excited to get graded, and then you see you got 15 of them or 20, and you're like, I do not want to spend $1,000 on grading right now. Speaking of which, I haven't told anyone about this yet, but I am missing cards. I was the silly one who grades with BGS. I did an order with BGS. Some of the biggest cards I own, including my first auto for Amanda Nunes.
No.
My 2019 gold auto for Sugar Sean O'Malley. A Hoist Gracie and George St. Pierre relic cards.
Oh, man.
And what else? A couple other ones. They have been stuck in grading with BGS since August last year, and I have had no updates from. I used a third party to ship my cards. I've been hitting them up for months now, like, hey, where's the update? And they have not
7
returned it
months?
yet. Yeah, man. I'm actually getting a bit worried about it now. It's not looking good.
That is such a bummer because those are some mega cards, especially that Nunez first auto. You bought that card, and you're the reason I looked into that card and got one myself. So that really hurts to hear, and hopefully things will turn around. I know they were kind of having some issues, behind the scenes and with the company altogether. So I'm really hoping this will get figured out.
Yeah, hopefully. As I said, I wasn't worried about it for a while, but now I'm like, no, this is too long now. Like 7 months is a long time. So, I mean, that's on you. I guess, as I said, I take some accountability in terms of BGS. As much as I like their slabs, and I I think they look the best. They haven't had the best reputation the past few years. But even then too, you know, we'll see what happens. Keep you updated. I'll keep the people updated on that one.
Yeah, everybody's out there is sending you our spirit bomb energy so you can blast BGS and get those cards back, because that's a lot of big cards that you need to get. Thanks for coming on again this week for number 43. 43, are you kidding me, dude? We are stacking them up. Everybody, hopefully you already did off the top of the show, but go check out Damian's various pages that he has. Go check out him get punched in the head as he continues to try and be the greatest boxer in the universe.
Yeah, look out Zuffa Boxing, look out Tom Aspinall. I'm coming for you. Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Zach. We've got to start planning our show 50. What are we gonna do? We're gonna start making big plans for that one.
Yeah, that's gonna be it. That's going to be probably within the year, right? That'll be here. And that's true.
This year, yeah.
Maybe we do a live again. Those are so difficult to plan for, though. Like the time difference is crazy. And then will people even come in? Who knows? But yeah, we should do something big for episode 50. In the comments below, if you're still watching, you are the man or the woman. So thank you for still being here this late into the episode. What should we do for episode 50? We need answers. We ask you questions and we need answers.
We get a live collab going. We'll meet halfway.
Yeah,
we'll
meet
halfway somewhere across the world.
That would be sick. That would be really sick. One day that's gonna happen too. You're gonna visit America or something, and then I can travel to whatever city you're in for a vacation with the family, and then I can get away for 5 hours and we can just hang out for a little bit in person. Finally see each other, dude. If you ever visit Austin, maybe we get some sparring in or something. Watching your videos has really made me miss that. I'm like, I can't wait to carve out some more free time and get back to sparring and get back to kickboxing, get back to martial arts in general, because there's really nothing like it, and it's such a good exercise. It's really how is your head doing, by the way? I know you've had a little injuries along the way. You're getting your bell rung a few times. Do you feel dumber yet?
Oh, it's pretty dumb to start with. Whether I'm dumber or not, it's pretty objective. Maybe the people can let us know after this collab. But yeah, it's good. I like the best thing about it for me is just that challenging. I talked about this in the first little vlog that I made, but just that challenging feeling of doing something that you were maybe scared or nervous to do, and then you overcome that, and then you have that sort of euphoric, proud pride that comes after that. So I think that's the feeling that I'm sort of using at the moment, that I'm getting addicted to. So the push is on. It's, you know, it is what it is, and I actually feel good too about, you know, pursuing something that I've always wanted to pursue, as much as it can be hard at times. It's just it's a good feeling knowing you're on the right track to something. So it's been very good.
Oh, I love that, man. You had a sentence that really resonated with me there, and it was about like you being proud of yourself. And I feel like people don't think about that enough, but I know some of the best days that I've had, it's whenever I accomplished a lot, or I did something that was difficult, overcame that, and then you're proud of yourself, and you look at yourself with, you know, a positive. A lot of people struggle with negative self-worth, you know, depression, anxiety. Whenever you do things where you're proud of yourself, I feel like that kind of negates a lot of those negative emotions. So definitely agree with that sentiment, and you know, being proud of yourself is huge, everybody. And if you're not, then go do stuff where you will be, and push yourself, get out of your comfort zone, and maybe that will change a little bit of your headspace.
Yeah, 100% agreed. I don't think there's any other feeling that beats that. I mean, you can buy nice things, you can do fun things that are like, you know, maybe dopamine, pushing your dopamine and things up there. But yeah, that feeling you get of overcoming something is, I think that's where the money's at, and that's what I've been really enjoying at the moment.
Nice, man. We're talking just life right now. We're talking philosophy. I remember CTMMA. Shout out to CTMMA. What happened to him, man? I haven't seen him in a while. Hopefully he's okay. But he used to.
He's busy with I think he's busy with the ladies, I think.
Yeah, he used to always comment. He actually had a really cool comment on one of our lives, and he was like, "Give me one word that, you know, to talk about that would kind of like reference the last week, and give me one word and then talk about it." I'll go ahead and go first and give you a second to think. But I really the last week has been a lot about balance for me. It's been a lot of stuff going on with the baby, a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with work, with life, trying to really juggle a lot of different things at the same time. And what one thing I noticed was I'm kind of cutting out. It's making me prioritize, like, what is most important in my life, and what are the things that I really want to hit on, and the things that I really want to do in order to be proud of myself, and in order to accomplish what I want to accomplish while I'm here on this earth. And I think balance is really important and really beneficial. And it's very difficult also whenever you have multiple things. You're trying to take care of yourself. You're trying to take care of your family. You're trying to take care of your passions, of your hobbies. You're trying to do exercise. You also want to relax a little bit, and then try to like juggle all those things and do all those things. You really have to trim out the things that are not beneficial to you, and then even reprioritize some things as well. So yeah, balance has been really big for me this week. What have you been thinking about and working on, Damian?
Yeah, well, just a quick comment on that while we are talking life. Like, obviously, you in the past few months have had one of the biggest transitions you have in anyone's life in terms of becoming a parent. And then yeah, your channel too is continuing to grow, getting better and better, along with your content. So it makes sense. You've got a lot of areas of you got your work as well, which I'm sure you work a high stress environment with your work as well. So you got a lot going on where you got to balance your energy. So that definitely makes a lot of sense, and obviously give credit to yourself that you are doing that at the moment. I myself would use the word just determination. I mean, and I'll probably use that word the past few weeks because like I know some people are getting. I think Maddie Mack was like, "Don't forget to have fun." And
Yeah.
although there is fun aspect to it, what I am doing is not always fun. Like to go to training, to absolutely work your body in terms of exhaustion, whether it be cardiovascular, doing your circuit training, and then Thursdays, which is today, we've got sparring. Like it's putting yourself in that environment that like it's like I literally have felt sometimes, especially I was very surprised when I first started training there. I've done some sparring before, but it's more like you would to what I've been doing now, you would say it's more of a play or light spar. You're not
Yeah.
trying to knock each other's head off. But I came into this environment, I was a little bit shocked straight away. I think the first week they looked after me, and then the second week after, since then it's been like you almost feel like you're like, whoa, you're like, yeah, and that's why I've compared it to feeling a drowning, like, and that's what I'm getting at is I'm challenging myself to things that are fun sometimes, but it's not about having fun. For me, it's about challenging myself, and progressing towards a goal that I truly believe is inside me. So that takes a lot of effort. Even I'm only 8 weeks, 2 months in at this point, but there's been a lot of days where I've had to talk myself into going. Like I've almost talked my way out of it, and I think that's helped too, having the accountability of making
Yeah.
content. I think if I wasn't making content, there probably would have been a couple of days where I talked myself into, have a rest day. But I've pushed myself, and every time I've pushed myself to go, no matter how I felt, tired from work, whatever, a little bit injured, I've always felt that feeling afterwards of that accomplishment. So, but yeah, staying determined at the moment to get the job done. And I will say it gets a little bit easier after every session. I think you grow that strength from that pride that we were talking about before. That's where you get that confidence to push on the harder days. So it's definitely worth it.
Nice. I love it, man. Glad we touched on this. Something I wanted to do more as of late is to talk about life and talk about things that maybe are a little more important. We UFC cards in the grand scheme of things, right? And the UFC in our fandom is really not important at all. And I love that because a lot of things that I do focus on are important. And so it's fun to just talk about BS, basically. That's why I love sports in general. To watch sports and be a part of fandom is, it doesn't matter at all. And there's no pressure. And that's what's so cool and so fun about it. Thanks again for coming on, Damian. Thanks for sharing a little bit about what's going down in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, appreciate it, Zach. And obviously, you and I have learnt we're very like-minded in a lot of ways too. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who are also into UFC cards who are also maybe resonated with something that we just talked about. So appreciate always being here, Zach, and look forward to the next one.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. See you.
Bye.